Yeah. Where'd go something, but I was walking.
I left Vinny's. I didn't get the recording started.
Yeah, I hit record.
Is it on record? Just double check. You're good, yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, when did you send that? You're right there.
6:30 a.m. This week, promoting the code is the item of the week. So we'll be out there promoting all those items we talk about all the time. And we'll be talking about some project-specific safety protocol programs, specifically the Vermont Gas one. ECI announcements, we have some new employees, Ronald Chadwick, James Curran, and Ronald Gaudette. Anybody here? They're all out.
Who in Reigate?
They're all in Reigate, or a lot of them in Reigate. Okay. Here's an update from 237 North Winooski Avenue in Burlington. That's the old Dairy Queen where we did the pile foundation, the site work, and the concrete work for Snyder Homes. The owner is Redstone. They had an opening, grand opening. My checker didn't catch that one. The grand opening ceremony for the new mixed-use building called Maiden Lane. And this picture here is one of our client representatives, Eric Hostra of Redstone, and he's assisting Cape Pond unveiling a sculpture in front of the new building. And the project included this metal sculpture by this local artist. Her name is Cape Pond, and the metal came from a piece of scrap pipe out back here and was rough cut by Pat Wells. A couple years ago we did that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember yesterday.
I don't know what she.
That's really a Pat Wells?
That's Pat Wells helped to
Yep.
get that cut out of a piece of pipe.
Wow. Is that Pat right there?
Yeah.
No, that's Kate. That's Kate.
Yeah, but she was asking about
Yeah.
Pat.
This is Pat's alias, his alias for doing his artwork. No.
Weekends, he looks like that.
Kate, I guess she used to have a shop over at Griswold, right? And that's how she got to know Pat would help her out cutting pieces of metal and stuff like that. And I guess she must kind of do a lot of the bending and work herself, but she would get a rough cut by Pat. And this is a piece that kind of a spiral out of a pipe, as you can see.
I think James put a big foundation in for that too.
Oh, okay, we did the foundation.
She told me that we did the foundation.
Yep. Do we put piles under it?
No,
Probably not, huh?
Something on
It's okay, have the website too, you could check out. Technical tips. Transportation engineering, as we've been talking about for the past several weeks. This week we're talking about super elevation, an item which has come up on a couple different jobs this week. And that's defined as the cross slope of a roadway or tracks within a horizontal curve. So super elevation allows for vehicles to travel faster around that curve and without sliding off. And the most extreme examples of super elevation, of course, are the bank turns at racetracks like the super speedway like Talladega at 33 degrees, and short tracks like Bristol where it's even steeper. So the idea is right here is illustrated in what we would call a free body diagram. We've got a vehicle on a bank slope going around a corner, and there's a force pushing that vehicle out. As you know, when you go around a sharp corner, it pulls you away from the center of the curve. And that's resisted by some friction on the wheels, and this banking balances the load to give you the friction and to resist that. So the components, the directional components help you. The steeper it is, the faster you can go. So railroads are also super elevated for the same reasons, and typically the track super elevation considers the percent load on each rail, if it's, even though it's going around on a curve, because that centrifugal force changes things. It can put all the load on the outward side. So the more you tip it, the more it's going to be closer to balance. And they don't typically use a balanced condition with the rails equally weighted on each side around the corner. but that's just kind of a gauge they use for selecting the super elevation. And they usually underbalance, and so that way slower traffic doesn't have such a steep slope that it wants to tip too much on the lower rail. So one potential challenge for the design and construction of rail and highway grade crossings is to provide a smooth highway ride over a track crossing where the track is on a horizontal curve. And this, I think this picture shows it pretty well. One of the problems here, this outer rail is higher than the inner rail. In here, this is a straight grade crossing, pretty straightforward, but as you can see, I mean, you're going to go up and over real harshly, and especially if there had to be some super elevation or other kind of banking or just the crown of the road, can really mess things up. And that's why often you drive over a brand new grade crossing and it might still be like this. It's because there's two different needs for the elevation and the crown of the road and everything. And sometimes it can be, like I said, severely compromise the rideability, because if you had two curves in different directions at that crossing, each needing a different, the rail will supersede. So they just work around it, and it can be kind of a harsh ride. Also, I put a link to, this is the construction equipment guide on professional equipment publication, and they have an article about paving the Talladega Speedway. I guess they had to anchor it back with some, I think it was a dozer or something for the rollers and for the pavers and everything. Because, it was, 33 degrees. That's 60% slope, 65% slope. And this isn't exactly Talladega, but it is up here at TD Bank, Bryan Realty parking lot, where we're doing some entrance improvements and parking lot improvements. This is, Bryan Realty is a local developer, and they own that TD Bank building up there, and their office is in it. And they hired us to do these improvements, moving the handicap spaces around, and also doing some entrance improvements, and then we'll do an overall overlay of the whole parking lot. And you can see we're cold planing out here. It's pretty impressive how we had a 5 or 6 inch cut we're taking right out with a small cold planer. And that's where the handicap parking spaces were, so things had to get rearranged to move those places around. And then there's some concrete steps we did a couple weeks ago here at the front entrance. That's what I got. We're going to go through this Vermont Gas Safety Orientation Program, and I just did a real quick discussion on it. You have to remember that a lot of our clients have kind of a project or their own specific health and safety plans that we have to be orientated in and adopt. And a lot of companies like Vermont Gas, IBM, or Global Foundries now. I don't know if we've really made that direct connection with Global Foundries.
Not really.
Probably coming soon.
GE Healthcare.
GE, the Air Guard, even other companies. Pizza Galley has their own, program. So it's a pretty typical thing nowadays. And I'm just pointing out in the blog that we should be asking the client, do you have your own special protocols and everything? And if they do, then good, we need to kind of adopt them. If they don't, it's a good starting point for discussion on things. So, Matt?
So we're just going to discuss today, this is the contract training program for the Vermont Gas Project, Valco, Vermont Gas. It's for the transmission stuff. Distribution is a little bit different. One of the points of this training is to really get everybody orientated, just in case, miscellaneous crews need some work. There's just a lot of, erosion control, setting mats, that type of work where we don't have to be OQ'd to be on the project. But so it's just to get our roster size bigger so we can quickly get guys to that project if we need to. So I'm going to mostly just talk about just what the project's kind of about and all the people that we might come in contact with and just some of the responsibilities we will have as contractors. And then there's a whole 60 other slides that I'm not going to get into today That's mostly all of our regulations that we, at engineers, we know about, your excavation stuff, your personal protective equipment, all that stuff. So the project team you'll see here is John Stamatosh. He's the project manager. So if you ever hear these names, these are the people who they are. Efran's the construction manager. Hugh Clark and Eric Curtis are the chief inspectors. Safety manager is Dave Addick. He's the safety director. He was in a couple months ago doing that Vermont gas safety stuff with us, just about working around gas. Krista she's the environmental part with Joey. He's the main inspector, Joey Wilson. And then Christy, she's code and compliance. She's going to make sure we have our OQ manuals. We have drug testing done for the guys working on the pipeline, making sure that we all have the hard hat stickers that we've gone through this training here. Communication and protest response, it's Ned. And then there's the right-of-way managers, Karen. These people are very, very active on the project. You'll see them very frequently. Some of the project success factors will ensure that safety is always a priority. Same thing here in engineers construction: safety, quality, integrity. Quality construction is strict performance of plans, specific and leading practices. We're going to comply with all our work requirements. Vermont gas policies and procedures really are very similar to ours. There's really not a whole lot that separates us from them. Comply with regulatory and environmental permits. That's one of the biggest things for this project is the amount of permits that we have to follow, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. And then how we're going to treat landowners, customers, public, in the utmost respect and courteously. Those are the kind of the key components that they want to make sure all contractors follow. It's kind of their code of conduct for the project. So some of the requirements, again, we cannot fire up equipment until 7 a.m. and we can't work past 7 p.m. unless we get exemption. And one of those exemption actually is drilling, so that helps us a little bit. On Saturdays, it's 8 o'clock to 5. There's no work on Sundays, state, federal holidays. This includes town meeting days, Bennington Battle Day, and Columbus Day. Again, it's pretty much all the state holidays. Restricting requirements when blasting, particularly regarding advance notification, blasting hours, and compliance with blasting plan, really does not affect us at all. And then there's really no deviation from the plan, but again, we can ask for extended period of time if we're pulling back or we're in the midst of a difficult drill process. So the general expectations for us is everybody has the right to stop work on the project. Again, it's that gut instinct. If you feel like something's wrong, something doesn't seem right, everybody has the right to put their hand up and say, hey, we should stop. Okay? It's very important that they really want, and we always want, that everybody goes home safe and sound each and every day. Daily tailboards, they have a document similar to ours. They actually kind of use a little bit of our tailboard, and they developed the JSA, which is Job Safety Analysis. It's a little bit different, but it's very similar. The only thing different is we list all the hazards where they want us to come up with the hazards. Other than that, it's very similar. Again, you'll find those, and these are something very important. If you find yourself, you and your crew going for the first time on a project, make sure that you grab their document, and we're using their JSA. Daily look-aheads for environmental. Joey Wilson's very proactive on the site, so we got to just make sure all of our silk fences in place and all our environmental measures are out there. We need to have a spill kit per location, especially the more equipment we have in one location, we should up the ante of our spill kits. On the environmental side of this project is really high. Then there's the operation qualification and Vermont gas training. Our OQ stuff is for the guys dedicated to working on the pipeline, the distribution stuff. You got to actually go through OQ training. But if for like setting mats and putting up sill fence and for cleanup work, you don't have to be OQ'd. And that's kind of the point we're having this training, is so everybody can at least get on the project and do those non-OQ tasks. And then the contractor shall notify Vermont Gas all employees and subcontractors with these requirements for every employee performing the task covered on the project. And that's why they give out a hard hat sticker. So after this training, as long as everybody signed the documentation going around today, then we can go to the Williston old golf range. I'm sure everybody knows where the laydown area is now. And you'll be on file going through it, and then you can have a hard hat sticker, and then you can be to go on the project. So there's no zero tolerance for drug and alcohol If you observe anyone who appears to be impaired on the job and you hear any activities on or off the job involving substance abuse and personal involvement with the project, report immediately to a Vermont gas inspector. I quickly, that's good and all, but the only people that are really allowed to drug test you guys is myself and Ben Dow. So make sure that we get a call if anyone, wants you guys to do a drug and alcohol test. Make sure Ben and myself are involved because we're the ones that are the designated representative of ECI. Firearms, no firearms, common sense stuff on the property, right of ways, vehicle, job sites, and lay down.
Rights of way.
Yeah.
Type.
I'll let Dave Attic know.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, abnormal conditions. Everybody that's gone through OQ training knows a lot about abnormal conditions. It's one thing that they talk pretty much all about in the OQ stuff is over pressure, under no pressure, explosion, failure, all that stuff. This is a lot has to do with actually working on pipeline, where we're doing kind of install stuff, brand new, it's not energized, it's not under pressure. So this slide doesn't really apply to us very much. But just for any other safety concern you may have, again, report it. That's what I was saying. Trust your God, or if you see something, say something. I think you'll see that again in the slide. Injury procedures, again, notify your supervisor immediately. If it doesn't matter how small the injury or accident may be, the project construction manager shall be notified. All injuries must be investigated to determine there is a way to prevent future injuries and provide Vermont Gas Safety with a summary report of the injury. This is something that happened to us this week. We had a little incident of just a vehicle incident. Vehicle kind of ended up in a ditch. They shut us down. They did a safety shutdown for us for the project. It took us a little bit to come up with all of our casual factors and corrective actions, but it's an important thing because really, we just fixed an issue that would be a really big issue down the road. Something very kind of small happen. It's going to improve the job site and hopefully get a safer road going into our drill areas. So again, it does, the common goal of the project is there of working safe. It just sometimes it's time consuming, that's all. So the quicker we can start the process, the quicker we can kind of get back to work. This is a huge topic. I'm sure everybody follows the news. Okay, the trespassing and protester response and the pre-work requirements. In preparation for the work of the day, team members shall, complete the tailboard, make sure the contact number is entered in the form as well as 911 address and the nearest intersection and street crossing. Make sure crew members are aware of trespassing and protester guidelines and know where to find them. Every day, ensure that the communications with the Vermont Gas policies are readily available. Those are all the documents we need to have on the project. In general, except for asking protesters to leave, only law enforcement or designated Vermont Gas personnel should direct engaged with protesters, particularly when a protest event becomes confrontational and disruptive. So they're kind of telling us to stand down, not really engage the protesters, just notify the Vermont Gas inspectors and make that call. Remember, all trespassers and protesters are to be treated with respect and to be made aware of safety risks. So you're allowed not really to confront them. You're allowed to say, hey, them on a piece of equipment or something like that. Hey, you're putting yourself in danger. Please remove yourself. Try to be very courteous. I know it's hard when people are disrespecting, our job sites, but that's the way they want us to try to conduct ourselves.
And then they said too, if you are confronted by a question, just say refer your question to Vermont Gas.
That's correct, Joe. Yep. They kind of keep going. Here's the call number, 802-951-0337. That's the Vermont Gas Control. Like if you see them set up, our job, not our job, they would love to know about it right away, just so hopefully they can, really take care of the situation before it escalates, especially before the media gets there. Also, if you could take some photographs and record the detailed event in your field book on the back of the JSA. Take photographs of cars, license plates. They're trying to figure out who these people are a little bit. and they're really starting to get Vermont Gas and the project's getting a little more aggressive because they're really getting sick of the protests. But let them deal with it, and then just provide them with information. So do not make any public or media statements to react to any issues. You know, they really get into this a lot, and I don't think I need to keep repeating myself. With the landowners and the public, this is also a hot item on the project, just because we're throughout miles and miles and miles of this project. Again, just treat all landowners with respect, be polite and courteous, do not litter, no cigarette butts. We've had an issue with that, so please try to put some cans out there. Pick up all litter in the work areas, and no smoking allowed while performing pipeline work. Close the gates behind us. Report property damage immediately. Do not make comments or promises to the landowners. You know, that's something that really happens frequently, that we just gotta pass all that information to Vermont Gas. Hey, this is what this person wants. Just don't promise anything to any landowners. Use the porta potty. Refer any questions to the Vermont Gas inspectors and the right-of-way manager, Karen or Dave Walker. So here's those permits that I was talking about. Look at all the environmental permits they have to follow. You got wetlands, water quality, Army Corps, stormwater permits, sediment control, stream alteration, and strict requirements for protecting protecting resources. I mean, it's just the environmental part of this project is just huge. And then you got the V-Trans permit, the local road permits. We just got to make sure that any questions, if you don't feel like you're in the right area, or you have a question of what's all marked out, stop and ask that question. You know, just be sure you know that you're in the right location. Environmental permits provided for protection of resources. Again, wetlands we got to stay out of. There's proper way to be in them. We got to use crane mats. With stream crossings, each stream crossing kind of has its own way that we need to construct it. Got to just take care of the animals too. And archaeological sites we have to stay out of as well. Some other requirements for the environmental, again, is just that daily tailboard, making sure that we have all the erosion control set up prior to earth disruption. We make sure all earth disturbing activities followed by that permit. The work crews must have the compliance plans and compliance tools on hand when working, and each work crew must be equipped with a spill kit. And that is something that's huge, is anytime there is a spill, make sure we know about it right away so we can clean it up. We had a spill back in, I don't know, Larry, what is it, 4 months ago, that turned into a huge deal that didn't really need to be in a big deal because we didn't get the proper chain of command through. So again, just call Larry, myself, any spill, don't know how small it is, we can come out and take care of it. Environmental access and construction entrances, again, only approve access roads. Understand the minimum road equipment and components, yield to heavy equipment, and make sure eye contact with the operator. Some of these roads that we're building to these sites are very narrow, very kind of curvy and steep as well. So just make sure you think about where you're driving first, because maybe you want to put yourself in four-wheel drive, you know, in places, because it's turning, some of these areas are turning into some actually mountain work kind of in, getting into the kind of mountain work environment. Some just do's and don'ts with more environmental stuff. Again, it gets kind of repetitive. Biggest thing, occupation safety. We are all safety officers out there. We must look out for each other. If you see something, say something. Don't let the next guy find a hazard or deal with an unsafe situation. So think safety first out there while you're on the project. Valco is very proactive with this project. WorkSafe is as well. Dealing with the new contractors, Michaels will be, I don't know how much involvement we'll have with them, but they have an extensive safety program, so I think they'll be good to work next to with this project. You know, our goal is to do as best job as we can to work safely, to make sure we follow all the environmental controls out there, and just to give a good quality product out there. So this is the training that Vermont Gas kind of has in place. So with that said, as long as everybody's signed in, legible, you know, and if Brian, Tom Lawyer come to you and say, hey, you want to work on this project, then we have the documentation, and you go over, get your hard hat sticker, and then you're allowed to be on the project. I want to thank the Vermeer guys for coming today. So you guys can go today to get your hard hat stickers to be on our site. We appreciate that. That's all I have. Thanks for your time. Let's have a safe day out there. Should be a nice day.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Rodney, only if you're okay coming.
Yeah.
Really?
Only if you're OQ or if Christy wants you. That's what I found out. I was able to get these guys in. I was able to get the wireline guys in without it. It's I'll adjust mechanics.
You just go to the office. It's just Michael Bishop. Yeah, right over here. Great penalty. Just go to the job and do it. So much rock.
You get your mud operator, you get everybody.
Whenever we get now I think we realize
You know nothing's happening when you get there.
are on the site that
You guys are like the ones that gotta come.
Kelly, you came back.
Kyle Dennis. Hey, if they're here, you don't have to fix as much, right?
Charlie
Department. They just stick with the equipment.
come back to reality.
Jordan Fisher.
Yep, again.
Oh.
Robert Giro.
So yeah, you guys are. Let me just get the document and I can highlight your names and I'll make a copy of it. You can just send over.
Just over there around the corner doesn't do diddly shit for me.
Go out this way, take a right. This is Wilson Road. Stay right on. We're gonna go through 1, 2, 3, 4 lights. Pretty much, if you get on this road, you take it right, you're gonna see the whole layout area of the project on the right. After you're on the right, go through that light. And
James Laughlin. Sarah Lanier. What's up, bro? Kyle Saul.
No.
Kevin Conroe.
He rubbed his switch.
Robert LeFay. Mr. Littlefish. But she was a
if they do, we can run it through quick.
Like we were at her house,
Dylan.
Wednesday morning, we all met project.
Just let me know. We can go over quick. All you have to do is sign this document.
Yeah, she worked down there.
Yep.
Michael.
She's still alive.
Yeah. Jacob, Stephen.
When you guys doing? You back? No, we're done. I don't.
Brendan Stringer.
Ohio.
And James Sullivan.
Memphis. Come on, Memphis.
There he goes.
Well, that's another James.
There he is. That's a big blue guy.
No, that's the 30.
Well, that's the 30.
Monster City.